Okay, what we're going to do here is find sine inverse of radical 3 over 2. What I can do is, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to say that's equal to theta and say that this is equal to sine, this is the same as sine theta equals radical 3 over 2, which has an infinite number of solutions, but by the definition of sine inverse, the angle must be between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. For all of our inverse trig functions, when we put a positive number in there, then we're going to get an answer, an angle in quadrant 1. It's only when we have a negative number that we have input that we have to think about it more. But here we're putting a positive number in there. On the unit circle, what we're looking for is between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. Now, sine is positive in quadrant 1. Quadrant 1's over here. Sine is positive. Now, also, in terms of sine, this is the y-coordinate. Sine is the y-coordinate on the unit circle. So from a unit circle approach, what we do is we think of the y-coordinate. Now there's memorization involved here that, if you remember, rad 3 over 2 pairs up with 1/2. And rad 3 over 2 is y, and that's greater. So sine is y, so the rad 3 over 2 will be the y-coordinate. And that number, rad 3 over 2, is greater than 1/2. And so it's going to be up here. If we know, which we should, that rad 3 over 2 is greater than 1/2, that means that we're going up more than we're going to the right, and that corresponds to the special angle pi over 3. And that's our answer. Our answer is pi over 3. That's a unit circle approach. I think it's a really good way if you understand what's going on in the unit circle, because you can do it quickly. And keeping in mind that sine's the y-coordinate, rad 3 over 2 is the bigger of those, the greater of those two numbers, so that would take you up here. All right. Now, another way to look at this is you could say, well, from a right triangle approach, sine is opposite, and 2 is hypotenuse. And if you've memorized your unit circle this way, or your right triangle this way, although there's other ways to do this, but there's one way, is looking at the way I'm showing here, is if I have the opposite as radical 3, the hypotenuse is 2, then here I have 1, and that goes along with 60 degrees, which is pi over 3. And that's a way you can remember, know your answer. So the answer is that sine inverse, aka arc sine, rad 3 over 2 is equal to pi over 3. So we can use a right triangle approach, or we can use a unit circle approach. Let's get like a big highlight thing here and highlight this answer.